Do you care so much about what you do that any feedback on your management ability feels like a personal attack on you or makes you want to kind of curl up in a ball and cry? Well, I want you to know that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. But I also know it to be true that it is not healthy for you to carry on like this either. If you're sick of feeling constantly triggered and you want to know if it's even possible for you to stop taking things personally as a manager, then know you're in the right place. And that's because in this video, I'm going to break down for you why being sensitive, maybe even hypersensitive, doesn't necessarily need to compromise your potential of being an awesome leader, the steps that anyone can take to stop taking things so personally in their leadership role, and what to do if the feedback is personal. So one thing that I know to be true is that I tend to attract a certain type to my YouTube channel, right? And I know that to be true based on many of you that I've worked with within NMA, as well as a lot of you that I've talked with in the comment section and by email and things like that. And I know that a lot of you consider yourself to be very caring. In fact, I think that's actually what drew you to say yes to leadership, because you care. You care a lot about people. You care about results. You care. And some of you have gone as far as stating that you would identify as an HSP, a highly sensitive person. So knowing that to be the case, the first thing I want to say on this topic is that this is a good thing. If you are sensitive, if you care deeply, if you have empathy, I think that's a wonderful thing, especially since you're dealing with people. If you did not have that, then honestly, I would be a little bit worried. Other thing I know to be true is that a lot of you also like Brené Brown, and I like her too. We can tell from her content and her interactions, even though we don't necessarily know her, but you can tell by the books that she writes and the way that she interacts that she is someone that is an emotional person, clearly, right? And yet she is branded as one of the top leadership experts in the world. And so you can see right there that you can be human and be a strong leader. So all this to say, being sensitive in a leadership role is not in conflict with your leadership goals. You can absolutely be a sensitive leader and be a strong leader, right? In fact, to be honest, I think it could be one of your superpowers if it is harnessed properly. But chances are, if you're watching this video, maybe you're not at that place quite yet. And so let's take some time to just lay some groundwork that I think is important. So there are 3 common places where I have observed that sometimes managers can allow their emotions to run the show. And you'll have to let me know in the comment section below if you have struggled with any of these yourself. Number 1, you were passed over for an opportunity that you thought you were perfect for. Maybe you were even told you were the favorite. Number 2, you presented an idea and felt that it wasn't heard, or maybe it was flat out rejected. And number 3, and this one comes up all the time when I'm chatting to new managers, you have a team member whose actions you're sure are all about you. So because of the fact that that last one I mentioned comes up quite often, I want to demonstrate how this might play out for you. Okay, so in this demonstration, I want you to imagine that I'm emotional Eloise and that I've been managing a team for many, many years with the same processes, and I feel really good about it. Then recently I hired a new team member, David, who comes in with a lot of life and sees things differently, and so he's questioning how things are done. He asks questions like, well, why do we do things this way? Or have you guys ever tried utilizing this process instead of this process? My emotions within that frame might cause me to feel as though maybe David is challenging my authority and challenging the way that I've always done things. And so in reaction, I might be really dismissive of his questions and get to a place where I'm so frustrated that the next time he says something, I might shut him down and say, hey, this is the way we've always done things. Thus, like I said, shutting down the ability for improvement. Have you ever been in this situation where you might have misinterpreted your team members' questions as a challenge on your authority as well as on your leadership, and so therefore you end up branding them as being disrespectful? If you have, know that you're in good company. I mean, at the end of the day, we are human, and sometimes we misinterpret actions. And so that's okay, right? We're human. However, what I am saying is we don't want that to be our default approach when these things happen. So now what I want us to do is take a look at how maybe pragmatic Pat might handle or approach the situation. So instead of like seeing David's questions as being a challenge on her authority, instead, pragmatic Pat sees it as an opportunity for learning, for growth and improvement. So let's take a look at how she might approach the situation.
You know, David, that's a great question. I always like it when new people join the team for this very reason, right? Because they're able to see things that we don't normally see. And it's important for us as a team to be constantly evaluating our processes. Now, while these processes have worked for us really well in the past, I'm definitely open to exploring like new ways of of doing things, but let me give you maybe just some of the reasoning or context behind why we've been doing things this way, okay?
Then she might schedule some one-on-one time with David to hear him out on his ideas and perspectives that might actually help the team improve. Did you guys see the difference? Did you see how emotional Eloise allowed her emotions to cloud her judgment, so much so that she really just saw it as a challenge of her leadership, more so than trying to understand David's perspective? Whereas with pragmatic Pat, she acknowledged the questions that David had and checked her ego, right? She took ownership by saying, well, David's questions might have a dramatic impact on the team's success. And that's what I'm about, is making sure that my team's going to be successful. So I'm going to actually prioritize growth over my ego. This is what an impactful leader does. They put aside their emotions so that they can find the clarity that they need, so that they can truly understand their team members' perspectives and actions, which, by the way, like 97% of the time, it has nothing to do with you. But maybe you're sitting there thinking to yourself, but Mac, what if it is about me? What if the feedback is personal? What if the actions that people are doing, what if it is about me? Fair question, and pretty much on par as it relates to being a manager. This is this kind of stuff that we have to deal with all the time. And if you are, dealing with this situation right now where maybe someone is really personally attacking you, then I want you to know that I understand, right? It's really difficult to be in a place where you're trying to help someone, but they are not in the place, mentally speaking or emotionally speaking, to be able to receive the help that you are trying to give them. It's never a great place to be in, and I can relate to that. I certainly can. So here's what I'll say about that. If you are in a place right now where someone else is allowing their emotions to kind of just bleed all over you, I want you to know that it's really not about you at the end of the day. It's really about them and the hurt and maybe the pain that they're experiencing for who knows whatever reasons. That is, like I said, bleeding all over you. And that is not a you thing, right? That is something that they have to work through and deal with on their own. So detach from it and maybe think about all the times where maybe you didn't show up as your very best self either. We all have those moments. Can you give that person empathy by taking yourself back to the time when you perhaps didn't show up the best that you could? And if things ever get nasty, know that the goal is to have a productive outcome and not to be someone's punching bag. So if you are ever in a conversation where things are getting, let's say, emotionally charged and people are saying things that they are going to regret later, I want you to pause that conversation, stop that conversation, because sometimes all it is that people need is simply a breather. So I hope this video was helpful for you, but as I'm sure you probably realize, there's so many reasons why we might feel a little bit sensitive to criticism that comes our way. And while normally I would send you to another video to watch, I want to let you know about the New Manager Accelerator Program. That's because I want to remind you that you don't have to go at this alone. Because in the New Manager Accelerator Program, I have managers coming at all stages in their journey with all sorts of emotions, right? People who have felt a lot of imposter syndrome, people who have felt directionless in terms of what to do, and they all graduate with a sense of clarity and confidence, and also having a team that they can connect with and that they can achieve goals through. And that's because of the fact that NMA really gives you every single thing you need. In NMA, we're giving you frameworks that you can use to adapt to any situation from any single angle, right? We are giving you practice so that you can develop these skills and approaches in a way that really works to your advantage. And most of all, we are giving you support. So like I said, you are never alone in this journey, which oftentimes management can feel lonely. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we built this program and this community, to make sure you're not alone in this. So if you've been doing it tough lately and, doing it alone and wondering whether or not management is for you, or if you're cut out for it, before you give up, I want you to give the New Manager Accelerator Program a try, because I think it's people like you that we need more of. And before you give up, I want to give you the tools, the training, the frameworks, practice, all the things so that you can be successful. So definitely check out the link in the description box below to learn more about the New Manager Accelerator Program.